Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show today. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. But of course, we have to mention good morning to the world. How are all my people doing? We are doing just fine. This morning we started with a few technical difficulties and we still have one or two to handle. But you know what? This is real-time radio and we do what we have to do to make sure we get the job done. Anyway, folks, before we get started, as usual, we want to get started in the home field, in the studio, where we have one of our two geniuses ready to go. Good morning, Jack. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Yes, this is Stanley. I'm ready to go. Yesterday, David called back about the birds, the mockingbirds, and said that they sing when they're territorial and when they're in mating season. But I still haven't heard them, and I've been out in them times, so I'm still concerned.
Well, you know what, Jack? I'm going to tell you something. I know that a lot of people aren't hearing the birds right now. A lot of people are saying, oh, what's happening? But I have some great news. The birds are going to sing again because we're going to make this a better place. But today, as usual, before I get started as well, we have the one and only Neil Aquino, extraordinary activist in Houston of the Houston Democracy Project. Were you starting to hear Jack now, I imagine, Neil?
This is Jack. Can I have
Regretfully not.
Okay, well, go ahead and let's get started. Talk to me and tell me a little bit about what we're going to talk about today before I introduce the show.
Great. We're going to talk today about Houston Democracy Project recommendations, endorsements, maybe some people not to vote for in our Houston City Council and mayoral elections, which began early voting this past Monday.
Well, that is great, folks. Anyway, folks, so again, that is Neil Aquino with us as usual. We have a little technical stuff that sometimes he doesn't hear what the person on the other side is saying, but he can hear me, which I guess I will become the translator if I need to be the translator. Anyway, folks, title of the show today is Another GOP-Caused Massacre. And I know it's just started, but these things happen over and over again. And just like we haven't done anything about the climate, we haven't done anything about guns. Of course, we're going to have Neil Aquino's recommendations. And likewise, we are going to have to talk a little bit about the GOP speaker. But before we get started, folks, first of all, we have a full program for you. But by the same token, we need you to remember that we are in Fund Drive. And in Fund Drive means what again, folks? It means that we have to raise some money for the station. My responsibility for Politics Done Right, a show that's played 5 days a week, every morning for an hour at 6 in the morning. I've got to raise $5,000 for this Fund Drive. So I ask you so kindly to call 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Please remember to hit the number 1 to donate and the number 2 if you want to be on air. Right now, we are behind. Yesterday, we were behind in the number of donations that we gave, which means my daily has increased a bit. I need to raise now about $380 a day. So give us a call at 713-526-5738. If there are any angels out there, meaning people with quite a bit more means that's looking for a good cause to put their money. Remember, we are here to inform. We are here to let people know what's going on. We are here to tell the truth, to make sure that folks aren't snowed over. As you know, we talk a whole lot about healthcare, Medicare for all, Medicare, Social Security. We also talk about student loans. We talk about everything that's about you, that allows you to make the correct choices in our body politic, in our life, etc. So I ask you so kindly, please go ahead and start our contributions now. 713-526-5738. Again, that is 713-526-5738. We cannot do this without you. Una vez más, lo voy a repetir. One more time, I'm going to repeat it. 713-526-5738. Anyway, before we get started, it seems like Jack is on the line. So let's go ahead and have Jack chime in. And I hope Neil can hear it. If Neil can't hear and I need to do a little translation, I will. Come on in, Tag. All right. Tag, you're on.
Good morning, Alberto. How are you?
I am doing fine, Tag. Talk to me.
You know, I'm just amazed at another mass murder in Maine with 22 people dead. And what really gets me is that here's what most people would consider a good guy with a gun and using an assault-style weapon to commit mass murder. And, you know, this idea of good guys with guns and the safety behind an automatic or assault-style weapon is just a fallacy in my mind. And I think the moral of the story is that the human psyche is so frail that you can take a guy that's been through the military. He was a weapons instructor by trade now. And then he goes out and kills 22 people and another 50 or 60 injured. I mean, this is a big deal. And saying that assault style weapons, I'll say it again, assault style weapons and good guys with guns is not the solution to the violence. What do you think?
No, I'm 100% with you. But before I give my opinion, I'd like to hear Neil, what Neil has to say. Neil, you heard that, right?
I did hear it with an echo, but it was discernible. I just want to say, you know, that I grew up in a home with a Korean War veteran who had PTSD, and he wasn't always in control of himself. And I would just wish over the 70 years since my father's discharge to today that we could provide the right mental health resources for our veterans. That doesn't negate at all the guns, and the guns are crazy. But the idea that these problems go on generation after generation is really unfortunate.
You know, I want to add to that, and Tag, I want to equate this to the climate issue, right? Mexico, and Neil and I was talking about this just before we got to the before we came on air. Mexico, I just got a hurricane that jumped from a Cat 3 to a Cat 5 in a matter of hours. We have been talking about this climate issue since the 1970s, and if to some even before that. We have known for some time what the causation was of the climate change, and we allowed people to change narrative and snow us over and over again. And in the process, because we allowed ourselves to be fooled, we're living through a condition that is very difficult to change right now. In the case of the environment, there's little we can do for whatever has already occurred, which means we're going to have to modify structures and lives and where we live based on what the environment is today until we can mitigate it for real and maybe start doing some real CO2 sequestration, etc. Same thing with guns. I'm sorry to go off on that tangent, but I want to then bring that into guns. Same thing with guns. In order for gun manufacturers to be able to make a dollar, our economic system based on propaganda, lying to folks, etc. And in order to make that, we allowed stories to be told. We allowed people to build up a framework that somehow the Second Amendment gave them immeasurable reasons or rights to have guns. Of course, they can't have an F-16, they can't have a bazooka, they can't have a nuclear bomb. So where do you stop? If there's a place that you can stop, there's a place you can stop. In other words, if we can tell you you cannot have an atomic bomb, we probably can tell you you cannot have an AR-15. And the reason we can't have an AR-15 is because of the damage it can cause for it getting into the wrong in a person with a mental state's hands. They'll come back and say, but they could have a handgun and kill. Yeah, but it won't kill as many. They may have a knife and kill. Yeah, but they may not kill as many. Tag, this is horrendous. This is conservative Republican type policies that continue to maim and kill. Tag, respond, and then I have a little thing I want to add to that.
Yeah, another post I did on my Facebook page this morning was the idea. This is just groundbreaking. The University of California has a experimental program going right now where they're taking crushed volcanic rock and they're putting it in the soil in farmlands, and it's actually working as a carbon capture sink. So when it rains, the rain brings the carbon out of the air, and then it's captured in this volcanic rock that they're putting in the soil. Just a wonderful technology, all natural. So with that, I'm going to go, but I think people should look into that because there are some good things happening on the horizon, too.
Right, exactly right. Well, look, thank you for bringing the subject up, Tag. Folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Please do remember we are in Fund Drive. I'd like to get some sustainers. Folks, let me ask you, if you met me on the streets and say, hey, I listen to your let's have a cup of coffee once a month, Egberto. I know you would. I know you would take me for a cup of coffee. I'll take you for a cup of coffee once a month. Wouldn't think about it twice. That is what I'm asking folks to do with Politics Done Right. Well, it's not coming to me. Remember, it's going to the station. That's why I'm asking you to, those who have the wherewithal, the ability to do so, to please become sustainers. Call 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Tell them you want to be a sustainer. You can give me a coffee a month, which is $5 a month. Or you can say, I can actually do, a couple of coffees a month. Maybe I'll take Egberto for a coffee on a Saturday and on a month, okay? And that would be $10 a month. If we can get 10 of those this morning, think about where it could take us as far as reaching the goal for this program. We're going to talk meat in a minute, but I have to do a little bit of pitching because we were way behind for the week. Only you can solve that problem by saying, I want to make sure that we can keep this program on air. 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to contribute. And as soon as I see you pop up on the screen, I'll be able to thank you. I'm looking at the screen that shows I'm at a big donut right now, which means I don't have any contributors yet for today. So please give me a call, 713-526-5738. If you happen to have a whole lot of ducats in your pocket and you want to say, you know what? I want to do something good. I want to make sure that I can keep funded somebody that's working hard to keep us informed. I'll do that. So if you want to give me, not me, give the station $500, $1,000, whatever you can, please do. We'd love it. Just give a call, 713-526-5738. Let's go to Harry. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning. Good morning, Roberto. I wanted to finish off a few points. I called a little probably too late to finish those points off yesterday about the UAW workers, and I want to speak a little bit about the Republicans' new choice for the Speaker of the House. Well, as far as the UAW situation is concerned, I'm glad that Ford has made a deal to pay their workers what they need to be paid. And as far as Stellantis and and General Motors workers just need to keep fighting, as you were talking yesterday. And you've got corporate types and people that do not like you telling the truth about what's going on with the workers getting ripped off, they are being put off against each other to try to get equal pay. And I just think that they just need to keep on fighting, and they need to not have. You can't worry about those haters. Maybe that hater that gave you that email that wanted to throw you off the air. That person may be a corporate type, that doesn't like you telling the truth of what's fair for the working Americans. Now, as far as the Speaker of the House, this Mike Johnson guy, he scares me as well. I think I don't like the fact that he was against abortion. He voted to overturn the 2020 election. So we got an election coming up next year. People have to get out there and vote, get more progressives voting in. The Democrats got to take the House back so these Republicans cannot continue to cause damage to our country.
Jack, first of all, you're absolutely right. But I want to press one thing. I want all of us to stop saying we're scared about what Johnson is going to do. And sometimes I make the mistake and say it myself. What we have to do is say we are not going to let him do what the democracy, we the people, don't want him to do. And Neil and I were speaking about this earlier this morning. And Neil, what's the current procedure, given that we have the White House and the Senate? What is the name of the procedure we can use in the House with 4 or 5 Republicans to still get done what needs to be done?
Discharge petition. Discharge petition.
Explain that to our audience.
Bring the item forth.
Right. What a discharge petition means is usually the speaker has the right to bring a bill to the House, and if he doesn't bring it, well, it doesn't come to the floor. There are ways around it, but it takes a bit more time. It's called the discharge petition. So what Hakeem Jeffries would do is he'll make sure he has his 212 Democratic votes for a particular bill. Go ahead and find 5 of the 20-something Republicans who are in blue districts and tell them, if you don't come with this discharge, we're going against you full Monty. And I guarantee you, of those 20-something that are in blue district, they will abide. And because, again, if the country is in dire straits for a particular bill that needs to be passed, let's give an example for the bill that Biden wants to pass for both Israel, Iraq, and Iraq and the Pacific. I am pretty sure that bill will get done by the hook or crook, specifically because it also has military spending. Whenever you have military spending, somehow it always gets through. So what Democrats are going to have to do is make sure to tie as much as they can into that bill that has military spending to ensure that it gets passed. And Harry, look, thank you so kindly for calling. Neil is going to talk a little bit about the elections in Harris County, a bellwether county in the entire country. So you have a wonderful day, my friend. Okay.
I'll say good morning. I'll say good morning to Neil and those 5,000 workers who walked off that expensive most plant that they got $3.4 billion
in Texas.
Yeah.
I think it's in Arlington. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they need to keep fighting to get equal pay. Have a good day, brother.
Thank you, brother. You keep listening and keep calling. Before Neil comes in and give us some recs here, I want to ask folks again to give us a call at 713-526-5738. I'm still at a donut, 713-526-5738. Please go ahead. Consider getting our T-shirt, the T-shirt, the Politics and Right T-shirt, contribution of $100. You don't have to pay that all at once. You can also get a brick in your name, a 4x8 brick that will line our studio's walkway. That is a $25 a month contribution for any for a 4x8 block, or a $50 contribution for a 8x8 block, where you can put a bigger message on the 8x8 block. We're looking to get sustainers. Sustainers mean the following: somebody that commits $5 a month, or $10 a month, or $15 a month. If you do that, we can start knowing how to budget and can reduce the amount of fund drives that we have to have. It takes about $50,000 a month to run this station. Remember, we have the electric bill for the 100,000 watt transmitter, which is figure out what 100,000 watts cost you per hour, and you see the kind of electric bill that we have, plus taxes, maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. So my responsibility for Politics and Right is $5,000. I am nowhere close to that yet. We need your support. Please go ahead and consider giving a one-time gift. $25, $40, $50, $60. Consider becoming a sustainer, $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month, or consider getting a t-shirt and many other things. I'm going to Neil in a minute, but I want to see if Jack has anything to say with regards to any great features that I haven't heard of before. Come on in, Jack.
Yes. We are partnering with the Houston Center for Independent Living, which is a community-based nonprofit independent living advocacy organization created by and for people with disabilities. And what we're doing is we're partnering with them, and somebody's donating parkas, and for every $1,000 that we get in donations, they donate a parka. So that's a good thing because we're giving back to the community. And that's what we are, community based.
And there's another thing, Jack, that I forgot to mention. For everybody who becomes a sustainer, $5 a month, right? And look, if let's say I'm going to give KPFT $60, which is $5 a month. If you do it as a sustainer, guess what happens? We have an angel donor who said, for every sustaining membership you get, we are going to give you guys another $50. So please think about it. For every sustainer that comes into our station, this angel donor is going to give an extra $50. That's an incentive to ask people to go ahead and start becoming sustaining members. But again, if you don't want, there are some people who just don't like to do things on a monthly basis. That's fine. You can give a one-time contribution. And again, just call 713-526-5738 or go to kpft.org, kpft.org. But, again, I'd love to see some of those now so that I can thank you directly on air. Jack drives in from the Galveston area every single morning. Jack is a volunteer. Jack burns his gas every day to be in the studio. I love Jack. I love Jack's commitment. Howard is our workhorse, our engineer, our everything at the station to make sure we are in air. He's taking a break today. Well, if you're listening, Brother Howard, thank you for all you do. And, you have some deserved rest right there. And Jack is holding up the pieces right now to make sure that we can do this. So I ask you, for all of us that are doing contribution right now, as you know, first of all, I'm a contributor to the station, and not only with my little, I do my own, what is it called again? Sustainer. I'm also a sustainer at $10 a month for KPFT. I wish I could do more, but activism doesn't pay. I am personally a sustainer at $10 a month for KPFT, and I also do these 5 mornings every weekday. 5 mornings every weekday, an hour, which means preparation the night before, which means keeping great people to talk to us, like we have Neil Aquino here, who is the founder of the Houston Democracy Project, another activist doing a lot of work for just whatever folks would give. So anyway, Neil, sorry for doing all that talking, but we are in Fund Drive. You have some talk about the Houston races and the importance of them and some of the people and why you think it is good for folks to consider supporting some of these people. So the floor is yours, my brother.
That's great. Thank you. And having been extended the privilege of being on the show, I think now the last 6 weeks, I've seen the amount of preparation that Egberto puts in to it, the technological preparation, the preparation of material. And the show really is rooted in courtesy and respect and hearing the call. So I just want to, again, just remind everyone about the effort that programmers put into their show. So I run the Houston Democracy Project. The Houston Democracy Project, you can Google it, and the website and daily blog will come up. And the intent is to strengthen, organize, inspire pro-democracy coalitions in Houston and Harris County. And I'm focusing on the 2023 city elections, and I will be up and running through 2024. And we're going to talk about Democrats doing a full Democratic ticket, and us organizing and being ready for anti-democratic threats, which are numerous. And so I've written a post on the Houston Democracy Project blog of recommendations for our Houston city elections. Early voting began last Monday and extends to the 4th of November, and election day is the 7th of November. So let me go through some of the positions. There are 5 at-large positions: the mayor, the controller, the 2 city issues that I'll talk about, there also are separately 11 district council people. And if someone has a question about those, I'm happy to take a shot at it. At large one is an open seat. The incumbent is leaving, and I'm supporting Conchita Reyes. Conchita has made a great effort to focus on democracy issues. It's front and center on her website. And I think it's important to note about Conchita. When you talk to her, she tells you she's a more moderate Democrat, and this is not an ideological issue. I think sometimes that we make concern for democracy a progressive concern alone. Conchita is a moderate Democrat, but she is deeply concerned about what's taking place. That is at large one, Conchita Reyes. In at large two, there are two strong candidates. Obes Nabarra, who has worked very hard over the last 3 years to establish his name. He's one of the few Democrats running for city office who was active and present for the 2022 Democratic ticket. And remember, we had so much at stake with Lena and all of it, and Republicans are still in court. If you can imagine, 11 months later, trying to undo 16 or 17 different outcomes from the 22 election. So Obes was there for us in 2022, and I believe he would be a pro-democracy voice on council in 2023. Danielle Bess also is running in at-large 2. She's talked about the HISD takeover. She's talked about reaching out to the Justice Department to undo the takeover. I've talked to Danielle repeatedly. She's open. She's very open to hearing from everyone, really, and I've liked her campaign. In at-large 3, there are 3 candidates I think merit your consideration. Danelle Cooper.
Let me just ask you to quicken up on them because we're starting to get calls. So, I mean, give a one-line sentence on why you about them.
Great. At-large 3. At-large three candidates, Danelle Cooper, Richard Cantu, and Ethan Michelle Gons are all people who have been open and accessible to the project and have expressed to me their concerns about democracy issues. At-large 4, the incumbent, Letitia Plummer, who really made an effort to address police reform issues at the beginning of her term, and she got a lot of blowback from Democrats on council, and Councilwoman Plummer is the one with a proven record. At-large 5, Sally Alcorn, I cannot support. She's the incumbent without strong opposition. She seems more concerned with relationships with the right sometimes than helping people out. Controller Chris Hollins, who has a strong record, pro-democracy record as election administrator. I'm supporting Sheila Jackson Lee for mayor, and I hope that Sheila Jackson Lee can. I think some of our longtime Democrats have not done a good job creating a culture of voting across the city. I hope that the Congresswoman can fix that. And then city propositions A and B. City proposition A allows 3 council members to bring something onto the council agenda. Currently, only the mayor can do it. Proposition B would give us better representation on our regional transportation council. So both issues expand democracy with the council agenda, better, more fair representation, and they're both actually connected to democracy. Yes, on A and B.
Now, there's another one before we go to John that I want to tackle, and that is one that I don't remember which proposition it is, but it is about taxing wealth. The Republicans in our legislature are attempting to make it very difficult for us to tax wealth. As we all know, wealth has been expanding unjustly in this country for a long time. We should never tie the hands of Congress, telling them that they can't tax wealth. After all, I don't know what proposition it is, Neil, so look it up for me, but we cannot.
Proposition 3.
Proposition 3. Remember this, folks. The regular average working class, they're already taxing your wealth. If you own a home, you're paying taxes on your wealth. If you own a car, you're paying taxes on your wealth. What is the difference with owning stock, which is just another form of capital? It should be taxed. If that were the case, our home taxes, our car, everything else could go down if we taxed capital fairly for everybody. They never put it that way. They try to make it seem like it's something different. Let's jump to John. John, come on in, my dear brother.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hello. What I want to talk about is corporate crime.
Yes, sir.
I've heard you mention a lot of things about corporations, but I've not heard about much corporate crime. It is more costly and kills far more people than street crime. It's not even close. And I
You
think
are
it's unfortunate
You
that we
are
don't
a
talk about it
genius.
more. I'm
Sir,
sorry?
let me first say, Brother John, okay? Thank you for putting it in that context, okay? I think, and I think Neil have heard, we've talked about this before. I think we have tried to say that. Maybe if you're calling in to say that you haven't heard that, we need to do a better job, okay? But you
Okay.
nailed it. You nailed it. And let me tell you how effectively nailed that was. Let's go to the pickpocket. Let's go to the petty thief who goes to a 7-Eleven. The petty thief who goes to a 7-Eleven and robs a packet of cigarette or robs a Coke. That may cost that owner of that thing 50 cents, $1.50. It is bad.
Yeah.
And it's out of his pocket. It is bad. But when that owner has to pay a healthcare charge because of what a corporation is doing for his healthcare, that is legal theft because it's just a transfer of a lot of that business owner's monies to just a few shareholders and corporate executives bonuses.
Yeah.
And that is a bigger crime. When we talk about the oil company understanding that benzene is a cancerous agent and they know that putting it into the ground will kill make hundreds or thousands sick in that area, but they pay off politicians not to have regulations, that should be considered a form of murder. So, John, if we expand what you're saying with actual facts and data, what you've said is 100% correct. And we'll probably just start calling it corporate legal crime, because do remember that the crime they commit is generally legally done.
Yeah, and the Sacklers never even went to jail for all the horrible stuff they did.
Exactly. So, John, maybe, I have to try to do it without making it sound like hyperbole, because sometimes you just turn people off if you come out and say corporations are criminals, and you turn some people off and they immediately stop listening to the detail of the message. But maybe sometimes I need to give it a bit more context. So thank you for making us aware of that, my brother John. Anything else you want to say?
Oh no, Egberto, other than I just think you're great.
Thank you, my brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day, sir.
You too.
All right, let's go to Bard, my buddy Bard, the guy that gave me a whole body laugh yesterday. How you doing, Bard?
Good morning, sir. I wanted to speak to some of your undecided voters on this mayoral race, because this is too important. And I want
go
them
ahead,
to
sir.
look at who is getting endorsed by who. We have Senator Whitmire. It's being endorsed by Senators Carol Alvarado, Sylvia Garcia. She's got the endorsement of Lee P. Brown, the former mayor of Houston and police chief of Houston. And even the Houston Chronicle is endorsing Senator Whitmire. Another endorsement he's got is from Sheila Jackson's staffer. I think she called him a fat, worthless,
don't use a dirty word.
Child. Yeah, fat ass, worthless child. I can't say what all else she called him, but he's endorsing Senator Whitmire, as well as several other staffers have decided to vote for Whitmire. And the only endorsement I heard that Sheila Jackson has was from Hillary Clinton, of all people. So I just want to make sure that anybody that's undecided can get out and vote for Whitmire, because he's
okay.
A Democrat.
Stay with me, Bart. Bart, stay on the phone. Don't leave, because what I want.
Well, he's
Stay on the phone, Lee.
He's
Bard,
against
hold on a second. I
crime
gave you a whole lot of time to
Democrat.
speak, Bard. Bard,
Okay, go ahead.
I gave you a lot of time to speak. Please hold. I want Neil to respond.
Okay, go ahead, Neil.
Well, my understanding about that tape is that tape is 12 years old or 11 or 12 years old. That doesn't mean you shouldn't treat people well, but that's an old tape, and you don't know what it's reflective of today. In terms of the endorsements, I just pulled up Sheila Jackson Lee's mayoral page. She's endorsed by the county judge, Hidalgo, by Rodney Ellis, Symphonia Thompson, Tiffany Thomas on council. There are a number. I could go down Emily's list. There's the communication workers, Oak Forest Democrats. There's a large number of donations. The LGBT caucus, I was at that meeting. I'm a member. I think that the vote at the caucus, as I recall it, was 132 to 54. And the Whitmire people sure did try to win. So it's not the case that endorsements from out of town. And I would say with the police union, and this is one of the consistent themes of the Houston Democracy Project, the police unions continue to support election deniers like Ken Paxton, Greg Abbott, and Dan Patrick, who want to overturn our elections. And I don't understand, after having done so much to defeat Melior last year, why on earth, in a more left-leaning constituency than Harris County as a whole, why on earth we would give John Whitmire the keys to City Hall with democracy online. Imagine a Houston of a second Trump term. Ken Paxton is the state AG, and then we have as a mayor someone who's so close to the police unions. I don't know why we would do that to ourselves.
I don't know either. John Cotter is on with us. Sheila is endorsed by the Texas Organizing Project, the SEIU, the Communication Workers Association. So she is actually being endorsed by the people that the working class, etc. So that's where that. But Bart, don't leave yet, because I want to say, let me take my host hat off and put on my Egberto Willies hat on and say, I endorse based on policy and based on what I think someone will do for the working class. That is my passion. That is what I have committed myself to do. As such, I'll bring first of all what the audience has to say. John Cotter, a very, very active young man in our body politic, says Whitmire wants to bring state troopers into the city. That was a failure in Austin. John Cotter also said it's no longer D versus R's. It is democracy versus authoritarianism. The 2023 election may advertise being nonpartisan, but it's truly Democrats versus those that refuse to election results. Now, the reason you wanted to say something, Neil.
Let me say this. In terms of who's endorsed Sheila, John Cotter is president of the Humble Democrats. And so there's an endorsement right there of an active Democrat, and he votes in the city.
And somebody on the floor, somebody that matters, not a Lee Brown that was once the chief of police of Atlanta, and we know what went down, etc., and New York, and we know what went down. So the truth of the matter is, Neil, you nailed it. And one other thing, Bart, and then I'll let you respond, Bart. But I want Houstonians to understand what happened with that tape as well. Anybody who uses that kind of undersleaze type of campaigning, and I mean, and a lot of them do it, right? Tells me a bit more. I mean, Sheila and Whitmire are Democrats. There are certain limits where you don't go. And one of the limits is you don't get your support from election deniers. You don't get your support from billionaires who go ahead. And I asked, I should have queued it up. Whitmire was interviewed by Houston Matters on PBS. And I sent him an email in. Daniel sent me a note and said, hey, Egberto, this guy's going to be on. You may want to try to see if you can get a question answered. So I sent an email. And the one email that they took was luckily mine. And they asked him on air what I asked. And my question was, one, why are you being funded by these election deniers and billionaires? Because again, we want to know, what are you going to do for Houston? And secondly, why are you adopting right-wing points? I mean, we know how to solve crime, and it's not the way Republicans do it. Republicans give you the gunners that we have killing people in Maine today. Republicans take a look at Jackson, Mississippi. Take a look at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Take a look at Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Take a look at Jackson, Florida. That is the type of crime rates that you get under Republican control. So henceforth, for Houstonians, in my humble opinion, and then I'll let you talk, Bard, I can't see why anybody would vote for a conservative Democrat to run a progressive city. Go ahead, Bart.
Well, the Houston Chronicle, is endorsing Senator Whitmire.
Yes. A corporate rag. Yes.
I wish, if you want to queue up something, I wish you would queue up that tape from Sheila Jackson Lee's staffer, where she called him a fat ass, worthless child, among many other things that you would have to bleep out. But this guy is a Democrat. It's going to fight crime, and that is a win-win situation. So I don't see why you guys are so against him.
Neil wants to say something to you, Bart.
Well, I would just say, since we have screwy definitions of public safety, crime obviously is important, but there's no public safety without democracy. And when you're hanging out with Dan Patrick, let's be clear, and Senator Whitmire says my relationships with Republicans can mitigate the worst Republican excesses. Maybe you saw the tape of Armando Wally, State Representative Wally, yesterday, who cooperates with Republicans all the time, almost in tears because of anti-immigrant legislation. Senator Whitmire doesn't seem to be, and Wally supports, actually, Senator Whitmire. There's nothing that Senator Whitmire seems able to do to mitigate what the Republicans are doing. And how on earth can a relationship with Dan Patrick be less of an obscenity than that 12-year-old tape? The obscenity is hanging out with an authoritarian whom, if he had his way, would take our damn rights. And that's the obscenity.
Absolutely. So, and John Carter also says, how can you listen to the, and this is the president of the Humble Area Democrats. He says, how can you even listen to the Houston Chronicle, that rag that endorsed Crenshaw? And we know what Crenshaw stands for. Okay, so I mean, I'm going to have the semi last word on this, so we change subject, Brad. Bart. So I'm going to give you a quick second to say something, and then I'll have the last word, sir. Guess what? I can do that. Go ahead, Bart.
Sheila Jackson, she thought she had Lee Brown's endorsement, and so she went ahead and claimed it. And,
yeah, she did.
Whitmire has been longtime friends with Lee Brown, and he shut that down. And Lee Brown said, I'm not endorsing her.
Yeah, I'm sorry that her, and that came from her staff, right? And I'm sorry that the staff did that. Maybe she should save that description she gave on the tape for the staffer who did that. I'm kidding. But anyway, Bart, Bart, it's always great listening and hearing your point of view. Okay, brother?
Her staff is voting for Whitmire, so I hope all of your listeners will too. Thank you so much.
Hey, stop it, Bard. How are you going to come on my show and do that to me? Huh? Come on, Bard. Anyway, you have a great day, Bard. All right, folks, look, the reason I can't endorse as a part of KPFT, but I can say who I'm voting for. And I'm voting for Sheila Jackson Lee. And the reason I'm voting for Sheila Jackson Lee is Houston deserves to have as the most progressive candidate possible, so that we would get progressive policies not governed by the corporatocracy. Anyone being funded by Fertitta, Mattress Max, and others that are awash in money tells me that person is going to have the ears of those folks and not the ears of the common person. Personally speaking, in going to the Democratic Convention in North Carolina, my opinion completely changed of Sheila Jackson Lee when I watched her interaction with her constituents, not her employees, but her constituents. I've subsequently interviewed her a couple of times, and in our back talk, meaning the talk that's not on air, tells me this is the right person for Houston. And it helps as well that she has some of that Caribbean nature, which we share in common as well. Anyhow, folks, please give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. We are still at a donut. Neil, can you believe that in as much as we give a full program during Fund Drive, that we don't have any callers for funding for this morning? So I ask you so kindly, folks, give me a chance to tell you thank you. 713-526-5738. I know a lot of you are listening. You know how I know? I am tracking it. Did you want to say something, Jack? I thought I heard Jack chime in, but it could have been.
No.
Okay. Anyhow, folks, 713-526-5738. Hit extension 1. Contribute. We'd love to have you give $5 a month if you can, a sustaining membership. That's like saying, I'm going to give Politics Done Right a coffee a month, or maybe 2 coffees a month. You know what? I give Politics Done Right, or actually it's really KPFT, I give them 2 coffees a month. That's all I can afford right now. That's $10 a month to support. Because again, let me tell you, I want to tell a story, Neil. You and I, Jack, and many other folks, I think, that consider themselves progressives or politically active, we sit back and we realize that you have to engage in the body politic. You have to engage in the politics. You have to engage in talking to people, etc. And we decided to make our lives out of doing that. That's our choice. We wanted to make things better. But many a times you have just the average person sitting back and saying, why don't somebody do this? Why is it that the Republicans their policies aren't liked, but somehow they are able to win? And one of the reasons for that is that the engines of republicanism, the engines of the conservative movement, meaning the Cato Foundation, the Heritage Foundation, and all the subsequent groups behind it, they support at every level. I live in Kingwood. From the churches to the civic organizations, everything is funded by the people. You go out and you put out a request. You say, they're going to pass abortion law at the Humble ISD. They mobilize the people immediately on a lie. Generally, they're mobilizing people on lies. They mobilize people, but more importantly, they are able to collect from these people. These people would invest in that. One of the things that I think, they may have a bit more cash than we do, the rich ones, because on the average, well, we'll get that another time, but they invest in that. It's a bit more difficult for us. A lot of times we will go to the Starbucks or we'll go to the Panetta Breads and we'll do all of these things. And you say, can you just give a little piece of that to support us getting the message out? We'll do the hard work. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, let me say that exactly, because we need to build a progressive infrastructure, and that progressive infrastructure is well built by programs like Politics Done Right. And I think, in addition to the things Egberto was saying, I think we sometimes look for a savior. We sometimes look for the process oriented. I think sometimes we're too process oriented. So if you regularly donate to a candidate, obviously support the candidate. But I'll tell you, when it hits the fan, or as these authoritarian threats grow, Egberto will be there. That Egberto will be here on the show. Egberto will be there as a citizen. The money goes to KPFT, let me be clear, to sustain it. But the progressive infrastructure and the person you can rely on, frequently more than candidates come and go. But that bottom line infrastructure of communication and people who show up needs to be funded. And sometimes it takes a shift in thinking that it isn't the state, it isn't the Beto O'Rourke who has $80 million to run digital ads. It's the person on the ground who is showing up. And so I think building that progressive infrastructure in Houston is essential, and a donation in the name of politics done right, KPFT would be an excellent progress with that.
Thank you so kindly. I just got a message from John Cutter. He said, very happy to donate to keep politics done right on the air at KPFT. I'm currently in Tokyo and the website won't allow the international donation. It'll be done when I get home. So folks, if you're having problems at the website as well, remember you can call 713-526-5738, extension number 1. And as soon as they put it on the screen for me, I'll be there to thank you so kindly. And John Cotter, thank you so kindly. John is a great supporter of the progressive movement. He supports Politics Done Right on KPFT. He supports our Politics Done Right online. We have wonderful, wonderful supporters, and we just need more, because the way we are going to get this message out. Let me, and this is not. Let me tell you this, Neil, and you know that because you've been in my studio here in Kingwood. You've been here several times. It is hard work, and right now it's 16-hour a day, 14 to 16-hour a day, 7 days a week, because of the amount of material we put out there, because we have to seed the progressive space. Right now, the right wing has people writing blogs and letters and all these things. They're not real, but they have all these things out there so that when you go to Google and Google something, the wrong information comes out, right? In other words, whoever is best indexed on Google is what people are going to think when they Google things. So what my little piece of society and my little thing to do, and you do it as well, Neil. I want to make sure folks understand that one of the reasons when you said you wanted to talk about this project, I said, man, you can come on and we can talk about this because we're doing the work. Your blog gets indexed on with the material you cover. My blogs gets indexed with the material I cover. And what it does to the space is when somebody looks up, who should I vote for in Houston? They don't only see what was paid for by Fertitta and all the bloggers Fertitta paid to put that material out. It also there with what Neil Aquino has to say, with what Egberto has to say, with what when John Cutter writes a message or says something and we claim it, all of that form part of this interweb. When people talk about AI and it's going to take over the world, and the one thing you have to be concerned about is AI learn from us all. And if enough of us on the left side isn't putting material out, AI would talk to us as if we are right-leaning. These things aren't magic, but we have to invest in them. So my ask to everybody is, please do remember, I mean, guys like Neil Aquino, they do this because we care that much about the country. Not that we care more about the country, but we have the wherewithal to do what we're doing, right? But support is needed to continue this. So what we ask is, in the case of KPFT right now, call 713-526-5738. Hit extension number 1. Donate what you can. A $5 membership a month, $5 a month. You won't even feel that, but it will go so far. Think about if we had 1,000 people giving $5 a month. That's $5,000 of the $50,000 we don't have to have a fund drive for. Think about that. It makes a difference. It does make a difference. We are coming close to the end of the show. So what I want to do is give the floor to Neil so that Neil can talk a little bit about the elections and what people need to do. And then we'll pass it to John and close out.
Great. So I just want to make a final plug for all of my recommendations and consistent daily material, just like Egberto's talking about, is on the Houston Democracy Project. You Google it, it'll come up. It's neilaquino.com, NEILAQUINO, neilaquino.com, the Houston Democracy Project. I'm working hard. City elections, early voting ends the 4th. Election day is the 7th. two candidates I want you to think about are Conchita Reyes in at-large 1 and Letitia Plummer in at-large 4. There are others. Do your research, and if you go on to Democracy Project, my email is there, naa61840@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I want to make a shout out also to the hospital bond, which is not quite a democracy issue, although we need to be healthy, which is Harris County issue A.
Absolutely. Thank you so kindly for that. Let me pass it along to Jack for a final word, and then I'll close this out.
Yes, those guns are out there for a purpose. They've been working at this for over 20 years, started with the concealed carry. They've been doing this on purpose. So y'all be aware out there that it's going on for a purpose.
Right.
It's a moneymaker, folks. It's a moneymaker. Well, look, folks, I am so thankful to have all of you who are our listeners, all of you who act on much of what we say. I get your emails. I get your notes. That is how we know we're making a difference, when we hear from you. For the things that we didn't cover that we should have covered on the program, please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All the links are there to the videos, etc. When we do the live show, I much prefer talking to all of you than necessarily going through, when you can always go on your leisure time to listen to our videos, watch our videos, etc. Folks, please give us a call, 713-526-5738. Hit extension 1 to contribute. We'll be back tomorrow. It is important that we invest in that which invests in us. I repeat, it's important that we invest in that which invests in us. So please, let's all do this together. When you donate today, given that the show is going to be over in about 30 seconds, please remember to select Politics Done Right as the program you are supporting. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.